couldn't initially work out what was wrong or off about this phone, and after a conversation with my colleague Will on the AP podcast and a separate one with my partner, it all clicked. There's something really obviously up with this thing and the others in its product family, and it's part of a bigger issue, so let's talk about that. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and the catalyst for this video was a conversation I had with my partner. Long story short, she saw that I was holding the Galaxy S25 Plus and said, hey, we have those at work. And I said, cool, the S25 Plus, eh? And she went, no, the Galaxy A34. This $1,000 smartphone looks like a $350 one. And that's not the best start for a really quite expensive device. By the way guys, we're really trying to hit 500,000 subscribers, so if you wouldn't mind hitting that button, really would help us out. Thank you very much. Samsung has been making its smartphone lineup more cohesive from a hardware design perspective. From the A series through the S series, even the Ultra this year looks more and more like all the other phones in the family, despite the prestige of that Ultra. Will and I spoke about this on the AP podcast, and it was interesting that Samsung teased the Galaxy S25 Edge and that it has a dual camera on the back on a raised profile. It almost looked like it could be from a different family of smartphones, not following the design cohesion with the camera circles on the back of all of the other Samsungs this year. And although the S25 Plus certainly has some impressive hardware inside, maybe an underwhelming looking chassis, it's a really mixed bag and represents Samsung's image of complacency with some of the hardware choices here. It has the 8 Elite and 12 gigs of RAM, UFS 4.0 storage, so it's clearly aimed at the high end, competing with the OnePlus 13, Magic 7 Pro, and of course beating the Pixels in performance as well. That's no question, this is genuinely a seriously fast phone, not only for zipping around One UI, which we will get to by the way, but gaming, picking up any high-end 3D titles, just run them on this thing and you will see that it's very, very fast. It is up there with the fastest. And there are rumors that for the next generation or next couple of generations, Samsung might revert to using an Exynos chip in certain regions, which I really hope isn't the case, because this cohesive 8 Elite in every single model along with the 12 gigs of RAM, it's just such a good recipe and it performs just like the best of any phone you can buy right now. And although it might not top the charts with insane numbers, the display on this phone is elite. It's incredible. Bright, fast, vibrant. I compared it with the OnePlus 13's panel, and sure, they are very close in almost all the metrics, but when you actually use them and see them side by side, Samsung's color tuning out of the box makes the S25 Plus's panel just so much more engaging, dynamic, lively. More contrast and an overall cooler tone from what I can work out, particularly in HDR, makes the images really pop off the screen. And at this size, you're not missing out on a crazy amount of screen real estate over something like the Ultra. This is a very big phone. But that's about where Samsung left the hardware. Beyond this point, comparing the S25 Plus to its competition in the sort of $1,000 price point reveals a confusing and pretty worrying pattern. Like the battery, for example. It's a 4900 mAh traditional lithium-ion battery, and it's good, but it isn't the level of the OnePlus 13 and other Chinese imports that come with silicon carbide battery technology, which boosts capacity and density, so for the same size phone you can actually fit more battery in it. And that's only exemplified when you go to the charging tech, where 45 watt wired and 15 watt wireless is just, well, it seems underwhelming compared to what's coming out of China. 80, 90, 100 watt charging, sometimes wired and wireless. The battery experience is not bad with this phone. It's a big phone, it fits a relatively large battery in it, and this is easily an all-day phone for me. Sometimes two, but it's just not amazing. It's not the same kind of thing that you would expect out of a OnePlus 13, for example. And I realized that I'm referencing that phone a lot, but given that that phone is $100 less than this, it's just the obvious comparison. The camera sensors and lenses are unapologetically underwhelming once again for the money. This phone costs the same as the Pixel 9 Pro, more than the OnePlus 13, similar to sort of the Magic 7 Pro, Xiaomi 15, And this just isn't it. The 50 megapixel 1/1.5 inch main sensor is not bad. It captures some pretty good images in various different lighting conditions. It's not quite as impressive as some of its competition because it is slightly smaller, but the 1x camera is not the weak link of this entire camera setup by any stretch of the imagination. The sensor is big enough for some nice natural background blur, though again it isn't the biggest, and the responsiveness issues that have plagued previous Galaxy S series devices don't seem to be here, which is a really good thing. But that's your lot, because the ancillary cameras on this phone are just plain not good enough, and for how much this phone costs, it's not really forgivable. And no wonder, these are the same cameras that you would have had on the S23 Plus. That's a 2-year-old phone. And for example, the 3x telephoto on this phone, a camera that I use all the time on my OnePlus, is half the sensor size and a fifth the resolution of what you'll find in the OnePlus 13. That is absurd, and as a result, long shots just, well, they don't look as good. They don't look very good at all. Samsung is relying heavily on computational photography to sort of bridge the gap here with its tiny, old, aging sensor, but that's just not enough. And the ultra-wide is a little better, it's a bit bigger, it's higher in resolution as well, but again, compared to the competition, especially the pixels, this just is not good enough. Samsung software is doing the heavy lifting here. The camera app itself is really rich in features, and I love the integration of log recording with the video assist tools. The video from this phone actually is very good. It sort of starts to claw it back, but only really with the main camera if you ask me. Again, the hardware just isn't there for the additional cameras. And the key reason you might actually be persuaded to buy one of these, given everything I've just talked about, is the software. I know I feel like a broken record saying this, but I think Samsung just genuinely has taken the crown for the best version of Android with its One UI 7, which runs on Android 15 on here. It's smooth, it looks great, it's full of features, both AI and traditional. The S25 Plus is also due 7 years of software updates, so it's gonna hopefully get Android 22, which is crazy. And I know some people care more than others about this kind of software debate, and some people don't like One UI, and that's fine. But I just think it is such a complete and cohesive package that it is one of the main reasons to buy one of these. The animations are incredibly responsive. The phone feels really fast, not only because it kind of is, but also the animations are made to really exemplify this. It's taken a bit of a corner versus previous versions of One UI with stuff like the split notification shade, the fact you can now have the horizontal app drawer as well, as I've spoken about in videos in the past. And I'll be honest, as cool as the AI trickery is, I've just never really found myself using it outside of testing for reviews. I know some of you love AI, and for that reason, Galaxy AI is a real draw on the Samsungs, not just the S25 Plus. But I do feel like a lot of what Samsung's offering in terms of Galaxy AI is just a bit gimmicky, if I'm honest. It almost feels like Samsung deliberately handicaps this phone. It costs 4 figures but looks like a $350 phone from Samsung's own lineup actually. Its hardware components outside of performance and display are genuinely mid-tier or just straight up old and just can't compete with the competition. As Samsung is still using the same cameras in a phone that they released 2 years ago, it's kind of like Samsung felt they had to make this phone but just didn't really want to. There's no effort, it feels half-hearted. And that's a worrying sign, as it's as if Samsung is so complacent with its sales figures and whatever else, it simply does not care enough about this phone anymore. You know, this costs as much as a cheap car, albeit a bit of a ropey one. And the competition, the likes of OnePlus, Honor, Xiaomi, Oppo, they're all offering so much hardware for the money in the same price point as this, and their software has been catching up. There isn't heaps of room for Samsung to sit on its laurels, but to my eyes, that's exactly what's happening right now. I cannot think of a single demographic of people that I would absolutely recommend this phone for. For enthusiasts, it doesn't have the hardware, and for your average Joe, well, you could just get away with a cheaper smartphone. This is $1,000 at the end of the day. You can go for a discounted Pixel because if you don't need the highest end performance, those are really good phones, better than this. But if you did want the Samsung experience, and you wanted the software, the AI, and you wanted really good hardware, you could just go out and buy last year's S24 Ultra, which is either discounted or secondhand. The S25 Plus is such an awkward device, and that is a real shame. Guys, I need to hear from you in the comments about this one, because I realise I've kind of just dunked on the S25 Plus, and it's not a bad phone in a vacuum, but compare it with pretty much anything else and it just doesn't make all that much sense. Are you concerned about this at all? Have you bought one and are loving it? Because I'm sure that there will be people out there who own these and are absolutely getting on just fine. But I do have to take into account the market when I make these videos. So let us all know in the comments what you think of it, what your recommendations are. And if you enjoyed today's video, please do hit a like. It really helps the channel out, and hit subscribe so we can hit 500,000 subscribers just to never miss another upload. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I will catch you later. Cheers.